Welcome again to part 2 of the Under the Wire challenge for Century, and we're going into Century 6 actually. Century 6 going into Century 7. We're currently in Century 6 here. If you type who am I, you're going to get that Century 6 basically here. And the password for Century 7 is the number of folders on the desktop. Now if you type in get child item and hit enter, you see we have a lot of files. Okay, a lot of files. So I'm going to CLS here, and now how do we check for the number of folders on the desktop? So just like we just ran the command get child item and it listed all this, we can actually just do the same command. Let me CLS first. We can do the same command here but in parentheses, and then we'll hit the count, use the count command as well on it. So we want to count everything here, dot item, sorry, dot count, sorry. If you hit enter, it's just going to give us exactly what we need, 197. So I'm going to copy that. We're going to exit and clear, head into Century 7. Century 7, hit enter. I'm going to paste that password, hit enter, and then we'll go in Century 7. So we'll scroll here to Century 7 to Century 8. And the password for Century 8 is in a readme file somewhere within the contacts desktop document downloads favorite music or videos folder in the user's profile. Note the password will be in lowercase no matter how it appears. So we're looking for the password in a readme file. So if you type pwd here, we're currently in the desktop, and if you type dir, you find that there's nothing here. So we're going to go back one step back, which is cd dot dot, and we go back to the previous directory. If you type dir, you're going to see those folders or the files he was talking about. We have downloads, document, desktop, contact. So this is where we need to be. Now this is where we can now run the get child item but recurse, so it's going to go through everything that we need. In this case, we're just going to go straight to typing get child item, sorry, clumsy. Okay, and then we're going to run this as a recurse, so it's going to go through everything, all the folders. And okay, looks like we have that file inside the downloads. Okay, we have that file inside the downloads. So I'm going to cd into downloads so we can see what's inside, because the password is in the readme file. So cd into downloads, I'm going to cd into downloads, hit enter, and then to be able to read the file, we're going to use the get content. If you want to know how to do, you can just say to get alias for cat command in Linux, and you see it's asking you to get content. Okay, so we're going to use get content and just hit tab, and it's going to give you the readme.txt, hit enter, and it gives you the contents inside the readme.txt. So I'm going to copy that 7 points, and I'm going to exit, clear. I'm going into Century 8, hit enter, and I'm going to paste this, hit enter, and voila, we're in Century 8. So I'm going to scroll down and go to Century 8 to 9. The password for Century 9 is the number of unique entries within the file on the desktop. Now if dir, we're going to see that we have a unique.txt file in the desktop, and then we can actually use the get content get content unique.txt. As you can see, we have a bunch of strings here, and we want to know the number of unique value here. So we're going to be using what we call the unique command, or the get unique. In order to do this, we'll start with the get content. Get content. Okay, now we'll get content of the unique file. Okay, and then we're going to pipe whatever comes out as a result of this to what we call the get unique command. Get unique command. All right, with this, but that's not where it ends. The password for the Century 9 is the number of unique entries. But first, let's just see if we hit enter, it's still going to give us number of unique values. These are all the unique stuff. There are no doubles. Okay, so let me clear this so that you'll be able to. So CLS. Now let's count that by just putting everything here in bracket. scroll down to the back here, and then we're going to count it. So to count it, like we did before, we just put the dash count, and we have that answer 696. Copy that. This is the answer. Exit, and we're going straight to 9, century 9. Hit enter. I'm going to paste that, and I'm going to hit enter. Voila, we're here in century 9. So we'll scroll down and we're going to century 9 to 10, and the password for century 10 is the 161 or the 161st word within the file on the desktop. And this is where it gets interesting. Okay, so how do we go about this? Now the first thing we need to do is to understand that we use what we call the split command here. So but first of all, let's just type dir, and then we'll have a file called the word list. It has 2131 length, so we just, let me say get content, so we see what we're dealing with here. Get content, for instance, and word, hit tab. Okay, so you see what we have a bunch of words, but they are separated with space. Now for us to be able to get each of these words by numbers, we need to arrange them more like a list, so it will have numbers like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. And in order to do that, we're going to use what we call the split command, the dash split command. All right, in order to do that, first we're going to use the get content, just like we did before. Let me just CLS. So basically this command that we ran, get content, the way it will paste it, but we need to attach it or run it right after, just the way we want to count it, but in this case we want to split it. We use the dash split command, and to use the split command, you can split it by either using what we call the /s and put this means we are splitting it by spaces. Okay, you can also do this by just putting space in between the quotations. If I hit enter, you see all the words are now arranged because it was splitted based off of the the spaces between them. All right, if I run this command again without anything in the middle of the quotation, it's going to also still give us the same thing. All right, now this is where it gets interesting. So let's work with something interesting here. There's what we call a variable. I like to use it. Now to give a variable a name is, for instance, this whole thing we run here, because it's a long code, we're going to give that a variable. Let's just call it word, and to call it word, you have to use the $word equal to this. If you hit enter, and then whenever you type in that word, it's going to paste the same thing. So I'm going to clear this. Now that makes it easy for us. So next thing we're going to do is word, and I want to pipe this. Now this is where it gets interesting. We're going to be using what we call the select object and index command. So we're going to select object, hit enter. Okay, and we're going to use an index, and it wants us to select 161. Okay, so hit 161, hit enter. Now the problem now is that index command uses what we call n-1. So when you think you're getting 161, you're actually getting 162. So to actually be able to get the exact 161th word or 161st word, we're going to use 160, which is n-1. Okay, so we're going to run the same command but with 0, and there we go. This is the word 161st word that we're looking for. So I'm going to copy that, I'm going to exit, clear this, and we're going to go into century 10 and hit enter, and I'm going to paste that, hit enter, and there we go, century 10. I'm going to end this video here, and we're going to continue in the last part. Okay, ciao.